Hello fashion lovers, you're welcome to Rock That Tribal. My name is Peter and on this channel we post sewing tutorials, pattern drafting tutorials and my life basically as a fashion entrepreneur. For the new subscribers, you're welcome to the channel. For my old subscribers, thanks for sticking out with me. Thank you for your support, thanks for your likes, your shares. They go a long way in motivating us to put out more videos. In this video, we'll be learning how to draft a proper male pants using pattern. Yes, we'll be using pattern for this. So if you're having issues on how to draft a proper pants for male, then this is a video for you. Please don't miss out on any part of this video. It's very explanatory and I dropped some formula that will help us whenever I want to draft any pants related outfits. Okay, so sit back, relax, grab a pen and a paper and jot things down. Peace. Yeah, welcome back to Rock That Tribal. So to start with our pattern, I would mark ½ an inch. That will serve as our sewing allowance to attach our waistband to the pant or to a trouser. So bear in mind our waistband will be 1.5 in height. So after drawing out my sewing allowance, I'll place 1.5 on that line I made. So to get our crotch line, we'll take the flap measurement, we'll subtract 6 inches from it and divide whatever we get by 2. So my flap is 26.5. I'll subtract 6 inches, that is 20.5, and if I divide that 20.5 by 2, I'm getting 10.25. So my waist to knee is 21. My hem or the length of my pant is 37. Then I add 2 inches for my folding or hemming allowance. Taking the same measurement on the other side just to get a straight line. Now if I were you, I wouldn't miss out any step on this video because I'll be dropping some formulas verbally. So I want you to pay attention to it. These are useful formulas that you can use for any pant size or any body size when you're drafting pants. So now to get the hip line, what I'll do, I'll take my measurement from the waist to the crotch line. I'll divide it by 4. Whatever I get will be my hip line. And afterward, I'll go on to label every line: the hip line, the crotch line, my waistline, my knee line, and my hem line. These are the basic lines you need when you're drafting pants for male. So going ahead, my hip is 42. I'll divide it by 4 and I'll get 10.5. So that same measurement, I'll take it up to the waistline just to have a straight line. I'll connect that line from my waistline down to my crotch line. So on my hip line, I'll go out by 0.25. That will be my ease allowance. To get my extension, that is on my crotch line, I'll simply use this formula. It works for me perfectly. 1/16 times my hip. That is dividing my hip circumference by 16. So in this case, I'm getting approximately 2.6. At the end of the video, we'll verify our measurements and see if it correlates with what we've taken down. So on my waistline, I'll come in from the flap line by 0.75. Then I'll connect the points from my waistline to the hip line and use my armhole curve from my hip line to the crouch line as seen in the video. After that, I'll go to my crouch line. I'll divide my crouch line into two, and that will serve as my crease line. After locating the midpoint on my crouch line, I'll take that same measurement down to my knee line and also to my hemline. Then I'll connect these points with my pattern master. After that, we'll divide our waist. We'll go to the waistline. We'll divide our waist by 4. In this case, it's giving me 8.75. We'll add 1 inch to it. So we're having 9.75. So on my waistline, I'll just connect that line or that point to my hip line and down to my crotch line. On my waistline, I'll go up by half an inch and extend the line on the waistline, extend it up. So from that point, I would connect that from the side. I'll connect to the dart line. So from my side seam on my waistline, I'll connect with a curved line down to my crease point on my dart line. Going over to my knee line, I'll divide my knee by 4. The circumference of my knee, I'll divide it by 4. Then whatever I get, I'll mark those values on both sides. Now see how I'm dividing my tape measure. That's 1. So I'm placing it at the crease point just to have equal measurement on both sides. So we'll do the same thing on my hem line. Hem is 13. We'll divide it into 2. That's 6.5. Then we'll divide it again. We're having 3.25 on both sides. By using my ruler to connect those points together. Now to get the back pattern, I'll place the front pattern over the back pattern. Now on my crouch line, I'll come down by 0.5. That will be the flap line for the back pattern. Then still on the crotch line for the front pattern, I'll come in by 0.75. Then on my waist, I'll divide that flap line and my crease line into two, get the midpoint, and then come in again by 0.75. This is just to have a bias, to get a bias for the back pattern. Now to get the extension, on my crotch line, I'll divide my crotch distance and my crease line distance into two. Here I'm getting 2 inches, and I'll just place it up as seen in the video. So the points I made on my crotch line and my waist line, I'll draw a straight line, but this time I'll do it at the back pattern. So it's connecting from the waistline to the crotch line for the back pattern. So from that red point I made with my marker, I'll divide my hip by 10. So in this case I'm getting 4.2. So that is the extension on my crotch line for the back. Then I'll use my armhole curve just to make an arc. Now please note, seam allowances have been added to this pattern. Okay, so there's no need adding any seam allowance for this pattern. We've added all the seam allowance both for the front and for the back. So now I'll go to my waistline, take my measurement. So I'm getting 9.75. Now if I have half inch sewing allowance on that side and half inch sewing allowance on the other side, so my total will be 8.75. Please pay attention to this part. 8.75. Now half of our waist of 35 will be 17.5. So from that 8.75, you see how I'm placing my tape. So I'm marking 17.5, then 1 inch for my dart and half inch for my sewing on the side seam. The inward seam at the back part, we'll add it later. So I'm doing the same thing on my hip line. This is the method I use just to have accurate measurement. So I'm getting half of our hip, or for the two, will be 21. So taking measurements now, after taking out our sewing allowance, we'll have 9.75. So you can see how I'm placing that 9.75 at the back pattern. Half of our hip will be 21. So I'm marking 21.5 inch sewing allowance for the side seam. Don't worry, we'll see how we'll do the allowance on the inseam at the back part. So on my knee, I'm marking 1 inch on both sides. Same thing on my hemline, 1 inch. Please note, we've added sewing allowance for this pattern, and you will see how we would reconcile everything we've done, just to make sure we are on track with our measurements. Okay. Afterwards, we'll go and use our ruler to connect the points. for our back pattern. So after drawing out our lines for the back pattern, we'll go ahead to get our back dart. So from my waist, I'm going down by 3.5. Now watch, on the side I'll mark 2 inches. So this is how I get my back dart for male trouser. The back pocket shouldn't be exactly at the midpoint of your back pattern, because guys, we put wallets, we put so many things at the back pocket, so it shouldn't be at the middle. So from there I'll mark 2 inches. The wideness or the width of our pocket is 5.5. so what I'll do is to get the midpoint. So that midpoint will be our dart. So from my side, just taking the measurement upwards, so it should be parallel to the back flap. I hope I'm communicating. If you have any issues or questions, drop them down in the comment section. We'll be glad to answer. So 1/2 inch on both sides for our darts. So that's how we get the back dart. I don't use the midpoint of our back dart. Okay, so this is how I do mine, and it works for me. So I'm collapsing the dart. So I would take that straight line again. That's from my side waistline to the flap side. So I'm getting a new line after taking out my dart. So there we have it. So on my waistline, I'm taking 1/2 inch. That will be my sewing allowance. Then you can see I'm taking my inseam allowance. I'm using 0.75 on the way hip, and on my waist I'm using 1 inch. As you can see, I'm getting the allowance or sewing allowance for the back side. So now we are going to reconcile the hip and make sure we are having 21. That is half of our hip. So I'm having 9.75, and you can see we have 21. That is half of my hip, which is 42. So the hip has been reconciled. We go to the waist. We do the same thing for the waist. After taking out half inch on both sides, we are getting 8.75. Then placing that 8.75 on the waist side, taking out half 1 inch from our dart, we have 17.5 and half inch sewing allowance. So we are okay for the waist side and the hip side. Then moving to the crotch line, we do the same procedure. Mark out half inch of our sewing allowance. Then we take the measurement. Here we're getting 12. For the back pattern, we'll do the same thing. 12 and 27 and half inch sewing allowance. So our tie has been reconciled too. And moving further to the knee line, we'll do the same thing, half inch on both sides for the sewing allowance for the front pattern. We'll measure. Here we're getting 8.25. So place that 8.25 at the back pattern. We're having 18.5 for the knee. So we are okay with the knee. We're going over to the hemline to do the same thing. So this is how I use a continuous method to check my pattern and know if I'm correct or if I'm in line with my measurement. So take note, the allowance has been added, so add half inch for our sewing allowance. Take the measurements. Here we're having 5.5. Do the same thing for the back pattern. So 5.5 for the front, place it at the back. You place it at the back and we're having a 13, and that is the circumference for our hem of our pant. So this is how I check my measurements to be accurate, adding my seam allowance to the pattern. I hope the video has been helpful. Please like, share, comment, and feel free to show your sewing mate or your sewing group. I believe we will learn more by having the intentions of teaching others. We learn more when we have the intentions of teaching others. So please like, share, subscribe, call your friends. It's not good you knowing something and others don't know it. Feel free to share knowledge. and you find out you'll be good at what you're doing. So now to get the pockets, the fold will get 2 inches and 7 inches. So that's what I use for my pocket opening. Now the wideness of my pocket will be 6.5. Then the length of my pocket will be 13. So this is what I use for my pocket, or the pocket casing, or the pocket bag. So guys, there you have it. This is how I cut my pattern for male trousers or male pants. Very easy, very convenient, and you won't have issues of it not fitting. So thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.